Hey guys, it's Stephanie Gwynn here. I just wanted to take a second and thank you guys for joining me today for our week 1 little session, little training for our first week of officially of our Faster Way to Fat Loss group. I'm so excited to hit the ground running with you girls, and I can't wait to see what you guys accomplish over the next 6 weeks. So as people hop on, why don't you go ahead and tell me either what you're most excited about for this first week, or even what might scare you. I know after prep week, it can be a lot of information to hit you all at once. So go ahead and let me know either what you're so excited about or what might scare you. I know for me, my first week, the counting macros seemed a little bit overwhelming, but you'll get it really, really quickly. I apologize if you hear a leaf blower in the background. They're doing yard work outside of the apartment complex. So these are all great answers. Great, great, great. And I see a lot of the same answers. So you guys are all on the same track here. So good. Okay, so we will just jump right into it. So the first thing we want to talk about is how our bodies are going to respond this week. And I know a lot of you are scared about jumping into either whole food nutrition. If you're trying to go gluten-free and dairy-free, it might be a little bit of a transition for you, and that's totally normal. Throughout this whole process, at least for the first couple of weeks, you might be going through a little bit of a detox period where your body is trying to get used to a new way of eating and a new way of living. So you might feel a little bit tired. You might feel a little extra hungry, especially on those low carb days. Because you're not used to not immediately feeding yourself. Your body's not used to the foods that it's going to be getting, which are much, much better for it, as long as you're following the plan. So we just want to set up those real expectations up front. We want to know what to expect, but we are going to get through it, and it's going to pay off in the long run, I promise. You are going to feel much better in just a little bit, and you'll have more energy. And while you're kind of going through this detox period, your body is going to learn how to burn off those glycogen levels. You're going to learn it's going to learn how to reach deep down into those fat stores and burn fat for energy. So you're going to be transforming your body in a way that you probably haven't before. So just push through it with me. I know it's going to be difficult. I know you're going to have cravings. For me, I love, love, love chocolate. And that's still something that I do crave every now and then, but we do make it through, I promise. I used to have such a sweet tooth to the point where I needed Oreos every day, but it's gotten to the point where I actually don't crave sugar really that much anymore. So it's a complete turnaround. So don't worry. If I can get through it, you can get through it. Make sure that you're drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. That'll just help with making sure that you feel as best as you can throughout this. One other thing that I will say, ladies, I know how tempting it is to jump on the scale every day just to see if you've lost a half a pound or if you're still at where you were. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you need to, have your husband or your boyfriend or your best friend hide your scale. We don't want to jump on the scale every day and derail our progress that way, because the scale's not going to give you the best representation of what's going on. That number on the scale is not going to tell you what's going on with your body. It's not going to tell you where you're going, and it's not going to tell you even really where you are right now. So it's not a good representation of what your body consists of. I know it can be tempting to hop on that scale every day, but don't do it. It's not going to tell you what your body consists of. Like for me, I'm 5'7", I have a larger skeletal frame, so I cannot expect to weigh the same as someone else who has a completely different body type than me. So the number isn't going to show you how much fat you're burning. It's not going to show you how much muscle you're building. And if you are replacing fat with muscle, that's a good thing. It's a good thing, even if the number isn't changing that much. We've all been told that muscle weighs more than fat. So if the number's not changing that much, but you look different, you feel different, your definition is changing, then that number on the scale doesn't matter as much. So don't do it. Don't get on the scale. Also, let's go through really quickly a couple of my favorite tips for the first week. If you're not into meal prepping, which I don't like to fully prep meals, that makes me a little antsy, and by the time I get to that day, I don't necessarily want to eat it because I've worked on it for 4 hours at some point during the week. So I at least try to plan out my dinners. Make sure that you're at least planning your dinners, and that way you can plan your macros for the rest of the day around what you're having for dinner. That gives me a little more leeway for changing meals around a little bit, so I don't feel so locked into one meal. But you do want to make sure that you have some sort of idea of what your largest meal is going to consist of, and that way you can plan around those macros. So make sure that you're tracking all of your macros in MyFitnessPal and adding everything into it. That means even olive oil. If you use a little bit of butter here and there, just make sure that you put everything in there, because that's going to give you a complete picture of what your macros are looking like. And for this first week, don't worry too much if your macro chart isn't perfect. We're working on progress, not perfection here, ladies. And that was one of my biggest hang-ups my first week. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted to have the perfect 50-20-30 split. But it's not always really possible. And don't worry about it. You're going to get it. It's going to become easier. So if you're a little under here or a little over there, it's okay. We're going to work on it. We're going to get through it. And just the way you're changing your body, the way you're feeding your body, the way you're fueling your body is going to make a huge difference in the end. And it'll get to the point where it's a lot easier. Like for me, like I know exactly what the macro breakdown is in my favorite peanut butter. I know what the macro breakdown is in my favorite oats. I know what the macro breakdown is in my carbonated water that I drink. Has no added sugar, so just be wary of that. But because I use them, I eat them so regularly, I do know what those macros look like, so those are easier to track for me. But like I said, if you plan that biggest meal and you know what your macros are going to be for that biggest meal, then it's a little easier to track your macros through the rest of the day. So you want to be able to make sure that you get as close as possible, but we're not worrying about perfection right now. So stop stressing out about it. Also, for low carb days, we want to make sure that you guys aren't completely terrified of the amount of fat you're taking in, because we are focusing on taking in healthy fats. And your glycogen levels are going to be depleted, and so we want to refill that with healthy fats so your body can burn fat for fuel. So you might freak out a little bit if your pie chart is 50, 60, even close to 70% fats, and that's okay, but you want to make sure that you are healthy, focusing on healthy fats, nuts, avocados, eggs, olive oil, etc., things like that, those healthy fats. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. We also do have a graphic in the group page with what kind of healthy fats you should be using. And after you do break your fast, you might want to keep a couple of good snacks on hand. For me, on low carb days, cashews are my favorite. Just a quarter cup of cashews can make a huge difference for me. Also, something that I've actually gotten my husband addicted to, if you've never tried it, you might want to. Apple slices with dairy-free cream cheese. So I'll take a half an apple, cut it into slices, 2 tablespoons of dairy-free cream cheese. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So if you guys have favorite snacks, feel free to post them in the group as well. Same thing with recipes. We want to make this as inclusive a community as possible. Fresh veggies are always great. I'm a southern girl, so I like fresh cucumbers. You give me a tomato, I'll eat it all day. So those are just a couple of my favorites. Let's talk about the scary part for some people, and that's the fasting window. So when you start out, ideally, we want to get to 16-hour fasting window, 8-hour feeding window, and that will be your full 24 hours. I know it's difficult for some people, especially when they start out, to get all the way through that 16-hour fasting window, and if that's you, it's totally okay. You're not used to it, your body's not used to it, and we're going to work up to it. So we want to listen to our bodies, we want to do what's right for our bodies. So if you need to modify that a little bit so you can build up to the 16 hours, that's what we're going to do. So feel free to get with me. We'll make sure that we work out a plan for you and that we can build you up to that 16-hour fasting window. Don't worry if you're not there yet. One other thing, keep your water handy. Make sure you are drinking at least half your body weight in water in ounces. So just for easy math's sake, say you weigh 120 pounds, you want to be drinking at least 60 ounces of water a day, every single day. So we want to keep ourselves hydrated. We want to flush our bodies. We want to flush our bodies out. We don't want those toxins in there. So we want to keep ourselves hydrated. We want all of the good things that come with drinking plenty of water. So a couple of things that I do is I make sure that I have a big glass. This isn't my biggest glass, but it is one that I love. It's one we got from Hawaii when we went a few weeks ago. But I make sure that I have a big glass. Get yourself a Yeti or a Tervis or generic from Target or Walmart. It doesn't matter. Just get something that you can put a lot of water in. And for some reason, for me, I prefer to drink out of a straw. And I think a lot of people find that if they drink out of a straw, they drink way more water. I don't know if it's for me. I don't have to lift the cup. Maybe that makes me sound lazy. I don't know. But if I'm going to drink more water that way, I'm going to drink more water that way. So get yourself a straw as well. Save me 3 seconds lifting a cup. I don't know. Also, as soon as it's empty, as soon as you hear it empty, if you're using a straw, as soon as you hear that slurping noise, go ahead and get up and refill it. If you go ahead and get into the habit of doing that, you're always going to have your water on hand. It's always going to be there. If you don't get up and fill it immediately, you might forget, oh, I'll do it later. Later never comes. You have an empty cup and no water. So keep drinking that water. And if you need to set yourself a timer, a chart, if you need to carry around a gallon of water, do that. Whatever's going to get you to drink your water, do that. let's see. If you need anything throughout this process, feel free to post here in the group. Feel free to ask questions, post your favorite recipes, favorite snack ideas. If you need ideas, go ahead and ask. And I'll get an answer to you as soon as humanly possible. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Chances are if you have a question, somebody else has that same question. So we want to make sure that we get them answered so you guys feel as comfortable as possible during this process. We want you to be successful and we want you to reach your goals. So make sure that you have as much information as you need. So if you have questions, be sure to ask. I'll also be posting in the group some modifications for some of the exercises. I've had 2 surgeries on my right leg, so I don't do all of the moves the same way. And I know there could be some others that need modifications, whether you're new to working out, whether you've had injuries. So I will be posting some modifications to the group, but if you need help with the exercises or with the workouts, feel free to reach out. And like I said, I will get you an answer. So ask away, ask away, ask away. And finally, I just want to remind everybody that we're all here with the same goal in mind, the same end goal, and that's to be a healthier version of ourselves. We each have our own whys as to why we're doing it, but we are all in this together. So I want it to be a very inclusive group. I want it to be in a supportive environment, and I want to be able to lift each other up and encourage one another. So let's keep it happy. We're going to keep it light. Like I said, if we have questions, we're going to tackle those. If we have disappointments, if we have setbacks, we're going to tackle those too. But we are all here in this together. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them below, and I will answer them for you. Okay guys, I just wanted to thank you for joining me today. Like I said, if you have any questions that did not get answered here live, go ahead and post them in the group and we'll get them answered there. Otherwise, good luck today, good luck this week, and we will see you later.